Welcome back to another episode of the Blockrunner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iron Man.
What's up, dude?
On the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
All right, finally back on the command center.
Yeah, dude, no interview again.
Yeah, are we supposed to have one?
I mean, probably, yeah, we had a couple scheduled, but it's been an interesting last couple of weeks for us, so it's been hard to, like, squeeze things in and out, if you know what I'm saying.
I think they should be next week, I think.
Yes, so yeah, we're going to get back to the interviews because we like to do that, right? We like to talk to people, get outside of our own little bubble from time to time.
We're definitely in the bubble for sure.
Yeah, we have quite the bubble forming here, dude.
And they're asking us to step out of the bubble, and it's hard.
Who's asking us?
Like go to conferences and stuff?
Oh, yeah, dude. See, yeah, we're supposed to be in Hong Kong like everybody else.
We're supposed to.
Yeah, according to, like, you know, the playbook with the Web3.
We should be partying it up with glow sticks and stuff.
Yeah, we're fucking figure 8 ravers, dude. Like, we should be out there on the yachts. Yeah, that's what everybody else is doing, dude. The pizza ninjas are out there on the yachts.
Yeah.
You know, the fucking everybody, whoever is like any kind of founder entity in crypto, you need to go to these events. Yeah. That's what we're hearing, right?
We're here in the cave, slaving away.
Right.
Trying to make shit work.
Pretty much, yeah. So unfortunately, I like the idea of being able to do these things. Mostly just
not me. No, I don't like the idea at all.
Well, I do. I want to meet the people like the Asian community supported us so much, right? I get your DMs, guys. I hear you. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say it's like, dude, please come to these conferences so we can actually verify you're a human being, not some AI or something. They're not saying that, but I feel like that's a tangible.
That's the motivation.
It's a tangible takeaway from these conferences, right? It's like
they're definitely human.
They're there. They're real.
Yeah.
So, but again, I think it's even better, like for somebody like a Domo or like a Batoshi, like these Anon entities, right?
I see.
It'd be even better to like see them actually present on like a stage somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, a little bit more confidence. But us, dude, I mean, we're as public and transparent as it gets, dude. So
yeah,
I feel like we do.
Yeah, I feel like there isn't that much to gain to go to these events. I could be wrong. I don't know.
We're probably wrong. I don't know.
I have to assume we're wrong because these things are like consistent.
Yeah.
And
have you seen the budgets for some of these? Like, I saw some proposals. I don't know if maybe it's like Bored Apes DAO or something out there.
Yeah, that's right.
With like a monumental treasury, like. It's like, hey, here's our budget for this conference. It's like $1 million.
Yeah.
It's like, we need to set up a booth. It's at least $300,000.
Right.
Plane tickets, $100,000 minimum. I was like, dude, what are they flying on?
Yeah.
It has to be like a gold-plated fucking spaceship. It's like not even an airplane, dude, to warrant a cost like that.
Yeah.
It's insanity. But yeah, I don't know, I'm split in the middle. It's like these conferences, half of it seems just like opulent exuberance. Like, people are getting.
Yeah, it's just a flex time. Like,
yeah,
it's all, people go there just to flex, and that's it.
Yeah, so I mean, from our perspective, it seems like people don't have enough to do.
Yeah.
It feels like it. It's like, dude, I mean, we're as busy can get. So it's like, why isn't everybody else?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe there's a time where we need to like just stop everything.
Yeah.
And like for a week, we just do nothing. But
yeah, if we stop for a week, that's like stopping for a month.
I don't know. Yeah. But I don't know. You guys let us know. Are we crazy? Should we be going to more of these conferences? Because they happen like every month. So like if
there's a new one. If we went to every one, we'd never get anything done.
Exactly. And there's literally people out there who
do go. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built Mscribe, the first inscription platform built from the ground up for the metaverse on Bitcoin. Connect your Bitmap Ordinals and use our tools to bring your community into the virtual realm. Support us by joining the movement at mscribe.io. Like, comment, and subscribe for the latest alpha. Back to the video. Yeah, I don't know either, dude. Because we've been to conferences and I don't see the value.
What if we create our own conference? Would you see value in that?
Yeah, NatCon.
NatCon, the DMT Palooza.
Yeah.
The DMT hole.
Everybody's like tripping.
Yeah, we're just like literally giving out DMT.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Everyone's just gone, dude. Fucking just faded.
Is DMT illegal?
I think it's like extremely illegal. So yeah, we can't do that actually. But we could do it like in a metaphorical way. We'll just like.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
It's like digital physics.
The DMT hole, dude.
Yeah.
Rabbit hole, DMT hole. I mean, at some point, maybe this movement can get big enough to where we can.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll be the actual organizers of this. This would probably have to be a communal effort, guys. Just putting that out there.
Yeah. This is another thing that we have to like do.
Consider? Yeah.
And we'll probably do it in a different way too.
Trust us.
Something innovative.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. You don't want us throwing the party, dude. Trust me, that's the last thing you want. We're the last guys on earth you want to entrust. Is like, dude, these guys are gonna throw on a sick party. It's not happening, dude. Will's gonna just
like confetti, like out of nowhere.
He's just gonna have like the Zeitgeist playing on a big screen on loop for like 7 days straight. Yeah. It's like. That was a good event, wasn't it, guys? You're like way more educated and informed.
Yeah.
And then like after that, like Neil deGrasse Tyson will come in, do like an impromptu like.
Let's talk about physics.
Yeah. It's like let's appreciate the cosmos.
Yeah.
We're all dust or something like that.
Dude, that's my kind of conference, dude.
If you okay, so
who wants to go to that?
Yeah, you guys want to see like fucking where's my raffle to win a Lamborghini, like shit
right,
like
right,
or like whatever goes on at these things, just booths of like hundreds of L2 companies.
Yeah, right.
That's what most of these conferences are. It's just layer 2 like shill fest.
Yeah. There's like
madness.
An entire hall of layer 2s.
I know. Yeah, and just t-shirts galore. That's like the best part. You get to walk away with
gym clothes,
which is a bunch of like trash, really. It's just a bunch of goodies, but it's definitely not worth $1,000 ticket or whatever you spent.
No, definitely not.
So yeah, if you've never been to one of these, that's pretty much how it goes. So
yeah,
I don't know. So in other words,
and then there are like all day events.
Yeah,
and like sometimes you can't go to like 2 things that you want to go to because they're exact same time.
Yeah,
then you got to split the team, and then you got to like regroup. And was that useless? Like, yeah, that was pretty much useless.
Yeah,
and then it's like you rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
for like 3 days, 4 days straight.
Correct. Yeah, I mean it's weird. So there's definitely a cabal, right? And these things, it's like if you want to be part of that cabal, this is the shit you need to be doing. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And there's a reason why we don't like, why are we not immediately? Why is NAT token not immediately like on OKX or the way like like Unisat has that kind of pull, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not like doing cabal shit. You know what I mean? We're not over there rubbing shoulders with like, the actual gatekeepers of this industry.
Yeah.
And that's what the gatekeepers do. They flex their wealth in these events, right? And then they go around and
it's like
recruit.
Yeah.
Recruit more cabal members, dude.
Yeah.
And then like, that's what's happening, right? You go to these conferences, you're gonna see 100 different L2s deploying ZK, EVM this, BitVM that.
Yeah.
Right? They all have like the same marketing narrative. Right?
Yeah, exact same. It's the exact same.
Yeah, once they all spin up their Twitter accounts, they magically all have 500,000 followers the next day.
That's right.
It's like, that's for sure organic, right? That has to be truly organic.
Yeah.
You go read all their tweets individually. The comments are all just like saying the same thing. Great project.
Right.
Really cool. Excited for the future. Wow.
Yeah.
And then you just
every time they tweet, it's like a million concurrent users or something like that. And
they're all just perpetually announcing partnerships, and they seem to all be like this connected. It's the same partners they all share.
Yeah.
Whoa, I wonder what's happening here.
Yeah, and it's like, and then retweet for whitelist access.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you get access to this whitelist. You go and mint.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they airdrop like 5% of the tokens. They keep 95%.
Yeah.
And then the investors get 30%. And then all of a sudden, it launches TGE event, price dumps.
Right.
And that's how it works.
Yeah. So go ahead and clip that. That is literally how the Web3 industry operates. Like a certain sector of it, right? There is that is like the well-oiled machine as far as like how people they know how to find their presence.
We call it smoke and mirror tactics because for a large part, those projects don't intend to really do anything. It's like essentially copy pasta.
Mm-hmm.
They deploy, everything seems functional.
Mm-hmm.
You can stake your assets, you can unstake, blah, blah, blah. And then if you partake in this activity, you get this allocation of airdrops. And then hopefully, they'll pitch to you that this is all going to the moon.
Yeah.
And, start looking at which color Lambo you're going to get. And then it never happens. And then everybody's pissed.
Everybody does get pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, and rinse and repeat. This happens every cycle.
Yeah. It happened last cycle to an egregious degree. I mean, we saw it all. We were there.
Yeah.
We witnessed it. It's like, God damn, this is quite the this is quite the fleece machine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. These founders walk away with millions, fleecing everybody. And for the large part, nothing really happens to them.
No. I mean,
unless like it's like super egregious, like billions of dollars.
Yeah. Even then, so it's whatever, slap on the wrist income.
Pretty much, yeah.
Unless there's like some serious fraud at stake, like there's actual and criminal activity.
Yeah, like money laundering.
Yeah.
Losing customer funds.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
Yeah, so this is actually interesting because, people out there, Eric Wall's out there throwing shade on basically this entire L2 space for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
He's actually name dropping Merlin and, BEVM, BVM.
BVM, yeah.
BEVM or whatever. Satoshi Vision, all these different, like the very first ones that kind of like came out. It's like, yeah, we're actually going to provide, something of an L2 functional environment for you Bitcoiners.
Yeah,
right?
and the theory and the thesis is sound. It's like there's no way we're going to have any ecosystem on Bitcoin because it'll congest and it'll be too expensive, and therefore we need a layer 2, right, guys? And everybody's like, yeah, you do need it. However, there's nothing currently happening on Bitcoin that really needs a layer 2 today.
Well, yeah, nothing has really garnered longevity, like actual sustainability yet on the primary layer. Right. We saw it,
we saw a small glimpse with runes.
And BRC20 specifically.
That's true.
After BRC20s happened, that's whenever we first started discussing. It's like, obviously, L2s are coming soon, right? Because, it clogged the Bitcoin enough for like a long enough period of time, a week or two.
Yeah.
It was like a mass realization to the point where like the Bitcoin core team were coming up with ways to like, filter out this spam and all this shit. Right. So clearly L2s are on the horizon, but like, that died down, BRC20s, activity, runes, ordinals in general. All these things, they have their flash moments, but nothing really sustained yet.
Yeah, right. And that sustainment of like utilization, that's what is going to require a layer 2.
Correct.
But nothing's really sustained yet, that level of activity, to where fees are like $20-$30 each.
Yeah, that's not going to happen until, like, again, the functional environment on the primary layer of Bitcoin gets figured out, which right now it's still like an R&D phase, this whole OP-Cat proposition from the Quantum Cat team, those guys, Eric and Udi, they're going back to the roots of Bitcoin to try and like, unlock some sort of functional ability out of like the core components of Bitcoin itself. And then BitVM and their different interpretations, you got the whole meta protocol space is maturing at like a snail's pace, but nonetheless, it's moving.
It is moving.
Yeah, it definitely is. Just analyze where we are today than where we were a year ago, right?
Yeah.
And it's, there's light at this tunnel.
Yeah,
we could see it.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to be in an ecosystem of a ton of meta protocols.
That's what it seems like.
And it's okay. It's the market, the invisible hand is going to decide which meta protocols are actually utilized. Yeah,
we're starting to see hints out of the BRC20 camp. We've been hearing talks and whispers and stuff about, grapevine chatter, BRC 22.0 and what that entails. And we've been making our own like predictions, and we figured it's going to look a lot like TAP.
Oh, yeah, exactly like TAP. Why? Because that's how it's going to have to work, right? If you're going to play along with JSON data, you just extend the data there. And then, and then you have an indexer that reads the data and reads the meta protocol for that updated lines in the JSON, and then you just execute on that, and that's it. Yeah, it's not complex.
Yeah, it's really not as complicated as people are making it appear. It's just the complication is figuring out the actual,
like the motivation to use that meta protocol.
Well, yeah, at the discretion of like the actual like application developer, right?
Right,
like,
exactly.
For instance, like, DMT, if you can consider that like an application, there's very core necessary functionalities that we need as part of like the meta protocol logic in order for us to execute on things like expansionary supplies.
That's right.
Right. That is, if nobody's aware, like that, this is like one of the only tokens on Bitcoin.
Still the only token that has expansionary supply, both for the UNATs and for the NATs.
Right. Yeah. People look at the NAT like expansion as like some sort of negative. I get it, right? From like a degenomics perspective, it's like, dude, why would you ever want a token that's like continually inflating or yada yada yada, but without even realizing just the grand realization that what the NAT token pulled off and achieved. It is a demonstration that we can actually have a dynamic token on Bitcoin. Yeah. Right. Without a smart contract.
Yeah. It's easy to forget that, but yeah,
I know. It's just weird. Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then on top of that, we have, we have this DMT thing happening, and the ability to, the way that I like to explain DMT to people is like, for example, Bitoshi, he saw block data. He was like, hey, this kind of looks like the metaverse. And then EV came in. It's like he sees the same block data. Say, hey, this kind of looks like cats.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have King here. It's like, we got the royals.
We do.
Right. Yeah. And that's the point of this, is that everyone can interpret block data in their own image and do something with it now.
Yeah.
You can actually deploy content on this data. Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then because you're deploying content on this data, it's a shared source of data for everybody. And then it's non-arbitrary because that pattern could occur again in the next block.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have like this expansion rate that is non-arbitrary. And the community who partake in this meta protocol, they know that a new expansion could happen in the next block. And that's a positive thing, right? Yeah. It grows the ecosystem. It grows the holder count. It's a good thing. You don't. Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. It's like this whole idea of 4K holders for a 10K project. Like that's like the pinnacle of blockchain application, and it only has 4,000 holders for this particular collection, and like you've all of a sudden achieved something.
Yeah.
Like it seems weird, right? It would be like deploying a store in the physical realm, and like you're only having 4,000 users come in only one time to buy something one time, and that's it. Yeah. Like, what do you think is going to happen to your store after that?
Correct.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It goes bankrupt.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening here. So it's like,
well, it was just like the first killer meta, I guess, that emerged from NFTs. It was
yeah, but I guess it's not that it exists; it's that it's perpetuating. It's like there's nothing relatively new beyond that.
Correct, because it's a long-standing meta. Again, it's like something that's already proved market acceptance and traction, and therefore, people who want to take advantage of that and deploy their own creations and participate in that same market space, right, where people are looking for these types of opportunities. It's like you don't have to like make them think too hard. It's like, yeah, this is just another one of those.
Yeah,
with the different flair to it, right?
Yeah.
But I see where you're getting at. It's another one of these examples of like just doing the same shit that we've already done, right?
Yeah, yeah.
To us, for some reason, it seems like exclusively to us, like that is like not something we should be doing. I don't know. It's just not inspiring. We're perpetually in this like state of we want to push the ball forward.
Yeah.
See, there's an invisible hand, right?
Yeah.
We give it a name. The invisible hand. There's an invisible ball too. Right? It's hard to see that ball, right? Everybody's kind of like questioning. It's like, where is it? Yeah. What is that ball, right? What are we even fucking doing? Maybe the ball, like, we kicked it over the neighbor's fence and like we just lost it.
Yeah.
And that's why we're just like spouting memes all day, like fucking Huda and Blippies and whatever the fuck else, dude. Like, tit and tat,
Ghibli floppy disk.
Ghibli floppy disk, dude. Why? Because we don't know where the ball is anymore, that invisible ball.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like, dude, everything that we should be doing in this space needs to be like aggressively attempting to like put that ball in motion, right? So
I think so too.
That's our approach. And like, again, for us, what gets us so motivated about this whole space, right?
Yeah, that's why we like DMT, because if you're going to do a 10K project, well, just do it in a way that is non-arbitrary. That way, there's a chance that the supply could expand and the creator can generate a little bit more money, get a bigger ecosystem, a bigger holder count, and then, see where, now all of a sudden the project has life 100 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? Because Bitcoin seemingly is going to be printing more blocks 100 years from now.
Yeah.
So I think that's, we're contributing to the new stuff, and we haven't seen a lot of the new stuff happening yet on Bitcoin, at least.
Yeah, well, Bitmap is a good showcase of that.
Yeah.
And allegedly the whole runestone thing too. It's like their attempt at galvanizing a larger than normal like populace, right? Like typically the killer application of Web3 and NFTs and tokens and all this stuff is community alignment, right?
See, so man, I have a lot to say with like these concepts. Is Bitmap is definitely cool because it was the first non-arbitrary token, and then with Runestone, it's cool because it was the largest one of the largest like community holder count, like roughly started at like 110,000 or something like that, and it went to 80.
It's like around 70 something ish.
Yeah,
right. It's like
but a lot of these things like Bitmap and Runestone, they're not repeatable, right? It's a one-off thing. And a lot of the things that have like sustainability, like a lot of traction, are the things that are repeatable, like a 10K project, right? These things are repeatable. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of these projects.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's what you want with like a creation, is that it's a thing, it's a meta that is repeatable.
Yeah.
You want that, right? Because now you have opportunities for people, right?
Yeah.
And so something like Runestone doing an airdrop for like 100,000 people on Bitcoin, not sustainable.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars it took to airdrop, like 300 something.
Yeah, it was a good amount. It was quite the fundraising effort. And then, like a month of waiting for like the right fees to actually come about, and then, pull the trigger as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Right now you could probably execute on it because the fees are so low, but.
And then, so it's like, well, that's actually a positive thing, Will, that this can only happen one time.
Yeah.
It's like, but it happens one time. It's like, that's it. It's like,
yeah. You don't want to just be like a one-off, like,
it's like
occurrence in this
it's like
space,
Cisco,
right?
with like Thong Song. It's like the one hit and that's it. He's done. Right, TJ?
Good reference, Will.
I'm sure everybody knows the Thong Song, in case you don't. Yeah, that is a perfect example of a one-hit wonder, right?
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's the best example, I think.
Yeah, but what you actually want is like, like a whole new market, you want to create a whole new like sector of music, right? Like
exactly, a new genre of music.
I want to be Future, right? Like the guy who comes in and he's like mumbling when he raps, and like I'm a trap rapper.
Yeah.
And then for the next 10 years, all of a sudden everybody's a trap rapper, shit like that. And then like the whole industry just kind of like,
now there's a genre.
Yeah. The whole industry kind of like, forms its like cohesiveness. It's like, this is what this is it now. This is what we're all kind of like supporting. Yeah. NFTs were exactly that. 10Ks were that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cryptopunks, 10K meta, and it's like, you know what, the whole industry of like crypto is just going to center around this whole new genre of rap, basically. This whole genre of music. That's a great point. And right now 10Ks kind of lame. not lame, but like kind of like it's sounding like how it's like the dubstep, right? Dubstep was cool for a few years,
I guess.
I mean,
in some circles.
You know what I mean? It's like music comes and goes, like, and then, it seems like every 10 years, like the style just changes.
It comes back too.
It does?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, what's a genre of music that's ever like came and went and came again? I can't think of anything.
Maybe fashion would be more.
Maybe fashion, but there's some music beats and melodies. I mean, a lot of the old songs that we were listening to in like the 2000 range, like those little like melodies have come back in like newer songs. Man, trying to think of a good example, but
I think me and you listen to like very different music, so
I don't know.
I don't know.
If you're not listening to Forgot About Dre these days, I don't know what you're doing.
Nobody's listening to Forgot About Dre anymore, dude. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know.
That's a mistake, by the way.
Right.
Fools.
But you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. So what does that mean?
So like it's not the 10K meta specifically. It's more like the arbitrary selection of a number, right? And so it's like, okay, well, why not have like 32K, right?
I see. Like just well, that's the whole premise behind non-arbitrary tokens to begin with.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like 10K means that, I create a arbitrary 10K project. It's, mints out.
Yeah.
Fantastic, right? People are happy. They're rejoicing. Parades all over the planet, right?
Yeah. You're stuck.
Yeah. Right and there. Then what? Yeah. It's like there's no expansion. And then when the creator decides to do another 10K, all of a sudden, it's madness. Pitchforks.
Yeah.
Everybody's like burning buildings. You know, it's like.
The idea of people throwing parades for a 10K mint out is hilarious to me. I don't know why.
I don't know.
That's what it sounds. That's what it feels like when people like, mint this 10K after like battling this like white list and like all this stuff. I feel like they're throwing out parades, out there.
Yeah.
And it's like to like an empty room, empty audience.
I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah. So then we have like this new meta DMT where it's like you can do a 10K, but it's non-arbitrary and it expands, and it expands in a way where no one, including the creator, can control, but they can prepare for.
Yeah, prepare for an anticipation and like understanding of what it is that's been deployed, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, this isn't like it's not even it's a non-arbitrary expansion mechanism, and it's all facilitated by Bitcoin itself, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like ins and outs as far as like King is doing a great job right now tweeting about like the understanding portion, like, so people, I think people are gravitating towards the collection purely off of like the merit of the art itself. It's like, this is actually like objectively really cool looking.
Yeah.
Like I actually would enjoy one of these being my profile picture, right? But
yeah, for sure.
And there's a lot of like market hype being built in anticipation of this launch for a lot of reasons, partly because of us and, the community itself that does understand what DMT represents in non-arbitrary creation.
Yeah.
But still, there's probably a segment of people out there who are like, they've been pulled in.
Yeah.
And they still don't really understand. Like, and so King's out there informing the public. So maybe, let's spend like, 10, 15 minutes doing our part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try if you are, because this is going to be posted on Saturday, which is like, I think the 11th of May. And the actual deployment is scheduled to occur
2 days
at a
after
block
that.
height activation on Monday, which is on the 13th, right?
Yeah, correct.
In our sector of the planet, which is America, specifically the central portion of it. So that's what's going to go down. So a lot of people, they want to be part of this once in a lifetime type of like, minting experience, right? It's the first of its kind.
Yeah.
Right? For a lot of reasons,
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to pull up the actual JSON here.
Yeah. But again, there's a lot of things to say here. It's like, what is DMT? What are unique non-arbitrary tokens? Why should I give a fuck?
Yeah.
It's like, how is this any better or any different than, what everything you just talked about? Like, just if why couldn't King just arbitrarily, there's 10,000 of these like everybody else has.
Yeah.
The art is already dope, right? You didn't have to like fuck around with anything else, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing actually?
Yeah. So with DMT, the creators have a source data that they can pull from called Bitcoin.
Yes.
And this source data is the most secure source data known to humankind in all of history. Right. And so now we have this shared source data that allows people to interpret that source data in a way that could be anything, like a NatCat or a Royal.
Yeah.
And so now what does that mean? So it's like, so what? So who cares? It's sort of like you and I being on different parts of the planet. All of a sudden we dig in the ground and we find this like oily black substance. It's like you come up with tires and I come up with plastic, right?
Yeah.
It's like the same source data,
right.
But we come up with different things.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what we're doing with DMT. It's like it's the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So now, and there's sort of like natural results that come from this. That source data depends on block existence, right? A new block gets formed, new pattern exists, and therefore there's a chance that your pattern that you chose to deploy the Royals could exist in the next block, and therefore a new art piece has been generated.
Yeah, so there's an entire framework that is like behind all of this, right? The DMT framework. Specifically for non-arbitrary tokens, right? So Yeah, there's a process to that, like identifying patterns. There's a registry for that. It's inscription based. And of course, like track is indexing all of this. That's what validates the existence of these patterns that propagating into like, potentially every single block.
Yeah.
That Bitcoin produces, right? So, it is a very like intricate and complex system that's like kind of like forming here.
Yeah.
Slowly, piece by piece, it's all coming together, right? And as of right now, only one field of data. If you don't know, Bitcoin has multiple fields of data, pertinent data that is usable and that shares these similar properties of that you're talking about, right? Like absolute immutability.
Mm-hmm.
It's as tamper-proof as our physical laws of, that govern everything we do in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Those things cannot be tampered with, just like the data layer of Bitcoin cannot be tampered with. So the thesis is build a framework where anybody can just leverage these on-chain substrate pieces to manifest new digital creation. That's it.
Yeah.
And why do that? Just because up until now, it's been completely arbitrary. Like that digital manifestation process, it's just been, at the discretion of a human deployer, right? It's just, I just feel like this thing needs to have this amount of it existing. And that's a decision of a single person, right?
Yeah. And like from a creator standpoint, you want these constraints. It's like you can't go to an engineer or a creator and say, build me something, just do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they don't know what to build, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you just tell them, it's like just do art. It's like, but like, what are the constraints? And that's largely what happens with like these 10K projects. Like, there's no constraints. It's just completely just out of thin air, right? So, but when you introduce these constraints, it's like, you build a boat, it has to be, this size, it has to hold like this amount of people, it can't weigh more than this, and you give these constraints, and then all of a sudden you get a boat that meets the requirements and it's like usable.
Yeah.
And so these constraints are now dictated by block data.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see what people come up with. And so we've seen like pretty good examples: Natcats, Royals, Nat Frogs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's tons of them.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like the most interesting part. So then it was like people, they meant this. It's like, well, I just get this text. It's like, well, that's a good thing, right? So when you mint text, that is the lowest weight. Like, for example, content size is 487 bytes.
Yeah.
To mint this text, I was like, cool, you get text. Like, but that's not art, is it? It's like, well, not really.
Yeah.
It's not really art.
This is what you see in your wallet, right? Unisat, whatever. You see this ginormous string of text.
Yeah. And by the way, when you embed like an image, like a .png or .jpeg into Bitcoin, it gets converted into hexadecimal.
Mm-hmm.
It's text into Bitcoin. It's not a JPEG into Bitcoin. It's a hex. It's the JPEG in hex form into Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So then, that hex as a JPEG is rendered on your computer, and then you see the JPEG.
Mm-hmm.
So roughly the same thing is happening here, right? This is text, and then when rendered properly, it looks like a 3D model, right? It looks like the actual, the thing that you minted.
Yeah, this is it.
And so this is literally this text, when you render it properly, looks like the 3D model.
Yeah, so there's a lot of impact statements there, right? Like, because obviously the implementation of like embedding arbitrary information onto Bitcoin there's tons of limitations there.
Yeah.
Right. So the big collective effort of trying to figure out the most efficient pathways to achieve this exact performance, right?
Yeah.
We're leveraging this whole scheme, the scripting mechanism to potentially output anything, right? This is just a 3D crown for now.
Yeah, could be an application, could be an asset deployable on a bitmap.
Yeah, let's address that, just because people tend to think, because we're so hyper focused on activating all these things that are coming in the short term horizon, that we're just completely
that's the thing that's like easy to misunderstand when you don't know how a lot of this like infrastructure works. right? It's like you come up with this thing called Bitmap. It's like, it's the metaverse on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right. It's like this glorious rainbows, blue skies type of thing. It's like it could be anything, right?
Yeah, you could spin up like an AI like rendering of like a metaverse reality, and like
it's like, this is it, guys. We've done it.
Yeah, it's like this is what's gonna happen, right? And then like for the next few months, you're like, devs, do something. Like, devs, when are you actually gonna make this happen?
Right.
And you don't understand like how much that goes into getting us even close to that perception of what Bitmap can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's easy to be sort of criticize how long something like this takes.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of considerations you have to take as a developer to design a world where it gets closer to what the blue skies and rainbows is of what Bitmap is. And if you think about this 100 years from now, we're going to have new technologies and we're going to have capabilities that are not available today. And so Bitmap is going to change. It's going to evolve. Yeah. And that's the valuable thing about Bitmap is that it's not stuck to any one like technology stack. It's going to continue to grow and evolve. And that's why, this asset is valuable, because developers are going to build on top of this. But there needs to be a developer who actually hit some sort of note out there that's like, all of a sudden this developer deploys something and it generates $10 million, right? Something huge, something that's like notable. And then all of a sudden other developers be like, $10 million, I can do that. And then they attempt to build a stack and compete. And now you got a real ecosystem. Yeah,
that's the case for everything, right? That's the case for DMT.
That's the case for 10K projects.
Exactly. Right? NFTs itself, right? When Dapper Labs put out like the NFT ERC 721 framework.
Yeah, what's his name?
Rohan?
Rohan.
Something like that. Yeah, Rohan. It didn't really have any interest for like a month or two, right? Nobody really cared. Yeah. It's like, this is, because, people were minting non-fungible creations on Ethereum anyways, but outside of any kind of like protocol spec.
That's right.
Same Cryptopunks, even like I think early Decentraland, a lot of these early NFTs, there wasn't a cohesive like wrapper to all of these fragmented attempts at creating non-fungibility out of from a smart contract or whatever. But it wasn't until like that framework and then a demonstration with, CryptoKitties and such. It's like, okay, yeah, now this all makes sense.
Yeah.
That is, what'd you call it?
The catalyst?
No, you said something specifically.
Oh, a framework?
No, whatever. Like a fucking lightning in a bottle moment, I guess.
Yeah.
Basically, the formation of a new meta, right? That's what it is. That's what in the DMT space, UNATs, I think, was probably that.
Yeah.
Right. With NatCats, that I think it garnered enough noise and interest. Like we're seeing it. Like there's a lot of creators reaching out who want to do like something similar, right? And then I think with the Royals launch here coming up, that's going to be another one of those like mass realization moments. Like there's a lot of potential here, and I can contribute to that and I be a part of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So these metas are actually very important, right? Like this is what actually gets that invisible ball we're talking about moving in a direction, right?
Yeah, towards the end zone.
Yeah, and for Bitmap, Bitmap needs that, right? There needs to be an actual meta forming from within like the Bitmap ecosystem, right? Jeff was pretty close to that with BRC 420s. Very, very close.
Yeah.
I feel like he actually got there.
Yeah.
But the pressures of like, I need to like recenter my focus on this L2 race that's going to. And he did exactly that. He positioned himself before everybody else.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
To potentially his own detriment, right? Because he might have like just executed too quickly. And we're hearing like the ruffles in the market. Like there's a lot of technical fallback or fallout from that.
Yeah, it seems like some people can extract their assets off of Merlin or whatever it is. But but Jeff is right to focus on layer 2s. It's just there's a right way and there's a wrong way to do it. And maybe there is no right way to do it today because the technology doesn't exist. That's why everyone keeps talking about BitVM. And that's like a theory and like all this stuff. And so,
it's either like, everybody collectively agrees. We just kind of like sit on our sidelines.
Yeah, exactly.
Until the R&D phase is complete.
If you're a developer or creator, you never sit on the sidelines. You create with what you have. And that's what Jeff did. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But so as a result, the potential meta of BRC 420s basically like the utilization of content space in the metaverse. Like that is like the real ultimate unlock, and it's never really been truly achieved. We know because we've been following the metaverse space for 4 years now. You know, we had our own attempts in Decentraland and you know the Ethereum side of the metaverse space to implement that, right? Like that, we our thesis originally is it's the content of the metaverse that's going to make it valuable, not necessarily the land, right?
Yeah.
It's in the same semblance of like the internet. Where's the value of the internet, right? It's not in like the web space.
Yeah, it's not in the HTTPS. That's not where the value is.
Yeah, the ability to like have ownership of like web pages and stuff. Like it sounds cool, but there's no value there.
Yeah,
it's whenever you actually leverage that web space and you create like an application or you create something where user generated content can proliferate, like YouTube, TikTok, all these different platforms that people just cannot detach themselves from.
Yeah, correct.
It's from the content that's being distributed to them, right?
That's and not only that, not only is it the content creation, but it's the ability to make it easy for others to create content.
Yeah, exactly. That's why
it's called frameworks, right? That's why DMT is so important, because it's a framework for creators to create content, and it's within the rules to where an indexer can pick it up quickly, right? If you were to do this individually, like you just point to block data and say this is DMT, and without following any frameworks, then you're going to have to index it yourself.
Yeah,
that means you're going to have to run a system yourself.
Yeah,
and then that means you're going to have to exist forever for the content to be viewable, right? And that is not going to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. But if you rely on a framework where if you deploy on that framework and it's potentially deployed on a framework where it's going to be decentralized, there's going to be a bunch of nodes, indexers in the case of Track, then that content is viewable, accessible, and it's to a degree trustless.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, so that's what we're working on, right?
And like, I don't know if that's, I guess it's not obvious to people what I just said. TJ, wasn't it obvious?
Here you are, dude. The fucking guy in the party, dude. It's like,
there he is. They don't know.
They're literally all in Hong Kong right now, and you're this fucking guy, dude. Once again, you're just like holding your cup, dude. It's like they don't even know. They're over there fucking roof deck partying it up on the yachts.
Yeah.
And they don't even know that, you know.
Yeah.
The content, bro.
Yeah.
Everything you just said, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess it isn't obvious, but...
Well, the reason why it's not obvious is because it hasn't been fully executed yet. You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Execution is everything, dude. Just talking about it is not going to make things obvious.
That's
right?
for sure.
Same thing with DMT. We talked about it for like months.
Yeah.
And it wasn't obvious. Nobody really gave a fuck until we execute. Some people did. You're like, this is a beautiful vision, guys.
Yeah.
But so what?
Yeah, and then when you do execute it, everyone hates you for executing
half people hate you. And the other half is like, thank you for executing on this, because now I could contribute and be a part of, right?
Yeah.
Slowly, those initial haters are converting. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it happening.
Yeah.
And shout out to you guys. It's okay to be wrong. It's perfectly fine, dude. It's okay. Like, you know, I know that's a jab to the ego, right? Like nobody wants to be wrong.
Yeah, but that is an issue these days. Like, it is actually okay to be wrong. There's a bunch of scientists who are wrong, and they're wrong every day.
That's right.
And it's okay. You learn, right? You become better because you're wrong. If you're not doing anything wrong, that means you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing things wrong and you correct yourself, you become a better human being. And that's
100%.
That is moving the ball forward for humanity.
There you go. That invisible ball, dude. Just they're all over the place. There's a human ball. There's a Web3 ball.
That's right.
They're fucking out there, dude.
Yeah.
But they're hard to...
One of you has to like go pick up one of these balls and move it forward, right?
Well, I feel like that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
At least one of these balls, yeah. I don't know exactly what this ball, what we can label it. I feel like it's, from my perspective, it's like the soul of crypto. I think so. Of like Web3. I'm telling you, dude. I feel like,
dude, if we have that responsibility, I mean, I feel like we're just like adding more responsibility than we like
deserve. Yeah. Or we can handle, maybe.
That we can handle at least.
We definitely shouldn't be the ones to like, yeah. Where's the soul of blockchain gone?
Yeah.
And let's try and implement a solution to like, reinvigorate that and like bring the soul back to crypto, right?
Imagine that was like our mission statement.
No, it's not. But internally in my own soul,
that's
what I feel like we're kind of like working towards, right? Because to be honest, like if we weren't doing what we're doing, I don't know, man. I would probably be telling you, dude, I don't want to make content anymore. It's like I feel very uninspired.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I would.
We've been in those phases before.
Yeah.
TJ, right? You're vouch, dude. Those are the doom loops.
It's true, dude.
We've had some doom loop moments, dude.
For months at a time.
Yeah, where it's like, fuck, dude. I want to actually fucking blow my brains out because this crypto shit is so like just depressing.
It was, yeah.
Everybody's a scammer apparently.
Yeah.
And all the inspiration we felt from years ago is just like vaporized because it's been soiled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Collectively. And it's like, fuck.
Yeah, it used to be when someone would try to fleece somebody, it would be like, because, here's our website and we're going to change the world with this crypto token. Just buy my token.
Yeah.
And then you change the world.
Yeah.
And then, at least it was like in a direction of like a inspirational attempt at changing the world. Yeah. But today is like buy my meme coin. And then that's it. And then it's like the justification or the rationale is like, well, at least we're being honest.
Yeah. At least we're fleecing you like directly.
Yeah, right to your face.
Yeah. So like, just don't be surprised when the
when the token is zero,
when the music stops and you're not sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
We're telling you guys up front, like this is all intentionally stupid and designed to basically make us early, hot potato participants, rich, and you latecomers are fucked. Like that is actually, but at least we're telling you.
Yeah, and therefore no jail time for us, right?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
I don't know. There's like a whole new paradigm of like of exploit.
Yeah, it's not even like mirrors, smoke and shadows, like
smoke and mirrors.
Yeah,
Smoke and shadows, dude. That's a cool band name, dude. Smoke and shadows. That's like a death metal core band.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah, that's
cool,
cool,
right? Yeah, like these smoke and mirror tactics. Now they're gone. There's no more smoke. There's no more mirrors. It's just like, here it is. Like, just buy this token, and if you buy it enough, it goes up.
Yeah. And
then that's it. Like that. End of meme.
Yeah, I know. It's egregious in many different ways. The most egregious thing is like that this many people that are remaining in like this Web3 space are buying into it and perpetuating it because they got nothing else left to like really grab onto. It's the only invisible ball that's like in sight.
Yeah.
It has like a trace around it, right? It's the only one you can actually see. So like,
yeah.
This is the one we got to be kicking, right, guys? Like this ball, and that's the fucking problem, right? And that's why I feel like if we weren't doing this DMT push, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, there wouldn't be much to talk about, really.
Well, at least not like genuinely. We would have to be like artificially hyping up this again. We'd be perpetuating bullshit.
Yeah. That's
memes, fucking the idea of runes being like this magnificent breakthrough,
right?
So that we could do memes more aggressively on Bitcoin. Like I get it, it's cool. Every other chain has this type of shit happening. So the fact that it's on Bitcoin, the thesis is these are the actual killer memes of Web3. That works. That will stick, right?
Yeah.
It's just like anything on Bitcoin. That's the original thesis, right? Whenever we heard of Ordinals, it's like shit coins on Bitcoin. Already massively more interested in anything else.
It is, for sure.
Metaverse on Bitcoin?
Yeah, 100%.
Fucking tremendously interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
So anything, like Leonidas is like, dude, biggest meme on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That actually has legs to it, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
just because of the Bitcoins part.
Sure. Yeah.
The dog, stupid. Everything else about it's dumb.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's like it's on Bitcoin, it actually gives it.
Yeah, it has a
power.
chance. Yeah, has a good chance. Yeah. But every time I think of a meme, I think of GameStop.
Yeah.
And that whole situation where the community shut down an entire hedge firm.
Yeah, that did happen.
But you know what? That was a cool meme because there was a goal, there was a mission, right? The average meme today, there's no mission other than to like, $1, like that's the mission.
It's literally just to like get rich. That is the mission.
Yeah, I guess if you're positioned properly.
But you're saying the GameStop thing. At least there's a big bad wolf, like a target. Like, that formed like halfway through. Originally, it was like it was
a good bet.
Yeah. It's like,
From what's his name?
I forget. The red bandana guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a legitimate, I think, thesis he put out there. You know, these
I think his name was like Deep Fucking Mind, right?
Deep fucking value.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, there you go. Something like that. But yeah, the thesis, I guess, was sound enough. Is like there's some hedge out there that are overly exposed.
Yes. Yeah.
To the actually they were probably properly exposed. If this like unicorn event didn't happen, they probably would have like been very, very, very successful.
And
GameStop
is bankrupt. It should be bankrupt, really.
I think it's on its way.
Yeah.
You know, it is like a dying model. You know, everything is streamable, everything is downloadable. We don't need physical retailers to kind of like distribute this content anymore.
The physical realm is done.
God damn. Come short
everything.
Yeah. Short everything, dude.
Short reality.
Short reality.
Dude, that should be a shirt.
That's, I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Just short.
It's also another good band name.
Yeah.
Short. Hell yeah, dude. Just fucking do it all, dude. Everything's going down. Fuck it. We're calling it now. But, you know, something's got to go up.
Yeah, but my point is that for GameStop, there was a mission, a collective force.
Yeah.
Like a real desire. It wasn't so much, I mean, it was about money, but it was more about like screwing that hedge.
Yeah, screwing the institutions, right? Wall Street, fuck those guys, man. They're dancing on our corpses daily, you know? We're over here suffering.
Yeah.
You know, I got to go to fucking work and actually bust ass while they just kind of like fiddle with some digits on a screen. You know, they have like some speculative meetings and such, you know. I don't know. You get it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
a split in reality.
I feel like a good meme has that mission. And I haven't seen a good meme since then.
Like a crypto meme.
Yeah. Or any other meme since then. Anything. Like a crypto meme, a stock meme, anything.
Yeah.
Any financial meme.
Jesus. Yeah, see, fucking memes are ridiculous, dude. Yeah, you're right, though. That is what you need to do. Like, if you're trying to architect or engineer a meme,
you need a narrative like that.
You need a movement behind it.
Yes.
For sure, I think.
Dude, that's how you do it.
Yeah, you got the moggers out there, like, going to these Trump rallies, you know, wearing their mog goggles or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're just out there, you know, mogging, whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're out there asking Trump and questions and shit. And it's like, yeah, dude, fucking mogged, bro. Like, that's the ethos, right? I don't know if that's going to stick or not. Maybe it will.
No. Like MAGA hats?
No, yeah, I guess. It's like the Web3 version of that. We're mogging. We're moggers. Yeah. I don't know. So they got to do a little bit more job as far as refining that marketing a bit, because I don't know what the fuck they're trying to do.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
I get it. Frank DeGoz is out there with his mustache and like parading around with the FaZe clan, and they're trying to drum up like, you know, an interesting narrative. Dude, like, we're fucking here to like the energy, bro. We're bringing the frat energy back to crypto. I don't know. Is that really? There's a market.
It's definitely not inspiring.
Not to us, but there's a lot of fucking Gen Zers out there.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're starting to
they've never seen this smoke and mirror tactics before.
They haven't. This might be like their first exposure, and like they're getting out of high school. They're, you know, working at Mickey D's. We're Jack in the Box. And like they're influencers, their favorite streamers, their favorite Twitter influencers, gamers and stuff. They're at some point they're all going to like deploy the mogs, right? And they're all going to be wearing these stupid fucking goggles.
Yeah.
Telling them to buy this shit coin.
Yeah.
So potentially they could drum up some sort of like something like that.
Yeah.
Get like the whole Gen Z or crew. Like collectively, there's millions of them. You just need to put in like $10 each, guys. Like every time you get paid.
Yeah, and then get 10 others to put $10 each.
That's right.
Right?
That's all you gotta do, dude.
That's it. It's really easy. Yeah.
It's really easy, guys. And we're going to change the world, and fuck Wall Street, by the way.
Right.
And Tom Brady.
And then just make sure you get 10 people.
Yeah. That's right. So, I don't know, dude.
It's like you want to be your own boss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just find those 10 and then you're the boss.
God, you know what? That's actually probably going to happen. I feel like we just like predicted the future. Like meme coins aren't going away, right? Like
no.
Yeah. They're not.
No, I mean, yeah, there's always going to be a new generation to fall for the smoke and mirrors, right?
Yeah, and good luck trying to like, you know, convince them that they should be bullish on utility.
Yeah.
You know, then there's a different demographic for that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of Trump apparently likes crypto. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
He's
You
like-
want to know
he's-
where that came from? The fucking MOG guys. They're the ones who were there. He's like, Trump, what do you think about crypto?
It's like, I like it.
He's like, fucking MOG.
Yeah.
Shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it works. But yeah.
But yeah.
Anyways, back to DMT, dude. I don't know.
Speaking of like substance and utility.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a launch with the Royals on Monday, and
This is the first time we say their official name on.
yeah, man, dude, let's play that video.
Yeah, we've been saying redacted for a long fucking time now because, you know, the name was redacted, right?
Yeah.
That's redacted means like literally like
We still call it redacted internally just because we're used to
we're
it.
used to it. But the Royals definitely is gonna like stick. It's just like has a lot of like meat to it, right?
Yeah, someone says like you should have named it just Royals, but the Royals has more alpha.
Yeah, I feel like you've watched that Facebook movie a little too many times. You're like, what does he say? It's like just the or no,
Drop the.
drop the. It's cleaner, right?
Yeah, just Facebook.
Yeah, dude. Well, it's not a fucking website, dude. It's a fucking it's a brand here.
Yeah.
You know, it's the Royals, right? And it's cool because somehow this identity has never been like pulled off. Like I can't think of
I don't think there's like a royal in crypto.
in PFP yet. But specifically to Bitcoin, it seems much more like it makes a lot more sense, right? Because the whole Bitcoin is king narrative.
Yeah,
it's like now we need to like, you know, assign its royal family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Royalty and king. This is very Bitcoin shit, right?
Yeah. It's king shit.
It is king shit. But yeah, somehow it hasn't been, you know, part of the ethos yet.
Hasn't been adopted.
But here we go. We're gonna see if the community vibes with this or not.
All right, let's play this video.
Oh yeah, dude. Sounds so good with these headphones.
So deep.
Yeah. That's what she said. There's redacted. It's gone. The Royals are here.
And
Almost
then,
here.
Look at that.
That little crown, dude.
Dude.
That crown everybody's been like fucking battling for.
Foreshadowing, right?
Yeah, I guess that was the point, right? It's like name dropping the collection without actually doing it.
Yeah.
Like, why crown, Mscribe guys?
Yeah.
Why
that did kind of feel arbitrary, right?
What, the crown?
The crown is just like, why crown? Like out of thin
You know,
air?
surprisingly, not many people were like asking, like, why did you guys make a crown? Why not like an OG card like everybody else?
Yeah.
Right? Why are you giving us crowns? You know, give
Yeah.
us OG passes, dude. Everybody else does that. So
Right.
we're like, you know,
No, dude.
do something
No.
different, god damn it. Okay, why does everybody just do what everybody else does?
Yeah, it is weird.
It's insanity.
Yeah, but this is definitely not an OG pass. This is just a testing mechanism.
Yeah.
That's all that this is.
Yeah, it's just you know, people. So one of the things we were testing is like the actual spending mechanics, right? So we had to associate a Satoshi value to these mints. Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't much. It was like $1, maybe $1.50, something like that.
It was nothing.
So I was like, you know what? I mean, let's you know, these are whitelist access to the actual Royals launch, but you know, why not distribute them some content, right? As the UNAT protocol allows, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know. People really like this crown,
I love it.
and they're minting it because of the crown. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of reasons because of Royals, but
So let's you know, there is a small caveat to this crown, right? Like
yeah. So let's talk about
now's
that.
a good time to like discuss.
So this crown here is so Benny was gracious enough to give us a channel for testing the privilege auth, and he gave us a test channel. Or I mean, we call it a test channel because we're using it for tests.
Yeah.
Now he launched a live channel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's supposed to be live, right?
Yeah.
So, but in the two channels, since we're going to be transitioning from the test channel to the live channel, in the live channel, the crowns don't really exist, right? So, oh no, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like what we're going to do is we're going to launch a new crown on the live channel.
Yes.
And then we're going to put everybody who transacted on Mscribe, who's received a crown, who
some struggled,
some who didn't receive a crown,
Yeah.
but they transacted on Mscribe anyways.
Mm-hmm. They got the JSON.
Yeah, they got the JSON. All those people are gonna be added to a whitelist that will be perpetually running on Mscribe.
Yeah.
To claim a real crown.
Yeah, it's just the actual valid crown mint. And again, so this is independent of the Royals like whitelist thing. So everybody gets their whitelist access.
Yeah.
Either phase 2 or phase 3, because I think we got like one test left in us, maybe.
Yeah.
So that'll be like a phase 3 entry, which is, I mean, this is going to be a very, I think, combative PvP like minting experience. People are really going to like clamor for their blocks here, which is kind of the whole point. We want to witness like a true spectacle. That's been the goal all along.
Yeah.
And why we've like tested it so vigorously beforehand, just to make sure, it's
man, we got some scars to prove.
some deep wounds for sure. Still licking those motherfuckers, dude. Still licking those wounds. I don't know when they're gonna heal. But hopefully,
who knows, dude?
Hopefully, eventually. But nonetheless, so it's happening, dude. I mean, yeah, it's been quite the development. Yeah, so I guess shout out to Benny and Track.
Yeah, our devs.
Our devs who are King and the Royals, the soon-to-be Royals community.
That's right.
For all the support. I mean, because, dude, this is what it's all about, I feel like. Like, we're genuinely trying to do something new here.
Yeah.
And therefore, a lot of shit breaks and a lot of shit is, like, questionable at first. But after all this, like, pain phase of, like, the early days,
yeah,
this could become what we just talked about, like one of these metas of the entire crypto space.
Yeah.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah, and if we have a couple people interested in kind of leveraging this whole mint mechanism, and so if you have a project that you want to launch using this mechanism, just hit us up. Eventually, this is going to be self-service, open to anyone to use.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions, definitely hit us up. I mean, there's definitely a lot of questions associated with it. One that we got today. I was hit up by King. It was like, hey, what happens when that pattern occurs again using, privilege auth Mscribe? What happens when it occurs again? I was like, well, because seemingly it minted out and, this happens like months from now, a year from now, or tomorrow, whatever it is, because you're using privilege auth, nobody can mint it until you say they can mint it. And so you can set the price for like future mints, or for future occurrences of the pattern, right? So you set the price and then you unlock it, and then there's a whole new minting experience after that.
So basically, your settings set through Mscribe.
Yeah,
it's just like a future. Anytime this thing occurs, like set those future parameters beforehand.
Yeah,
because assuming this.
Well, it's not future parameters. More like the pattern occurs again. Nobody can mint on Mscribe because the minting is closed. So then you just create a new phase and set a new price or set it free, whatever you want to do. Mint it to yourself, whatever it is that you want to do, and then just launch it, and you do the whole minting again.
So what happens when you die?
Well, make sure you unlock the.
Yeah, so that needs to be considered. That needs to be like part of the design. Yeah. This is a forever long-standing pattern occurrence, right? So assuming again, we're removing human like involvement in as much as possible.
Yeah.
So like this has to be future-proof. So that's good that King brought that up. See, King always.
I mean, you could also like leave it completely open, meaning if that pattern occurs again, it's like, oh shit, the pattern occurs again. Let's go to Mscribe and just mint, and so it'll be open perpetually forever.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I feel like that makes sense because then, okay, yeah. So we're going to have to factor that in. I mean, because obviously that's important, right?
Yeah.
Because this is going to, these Bitcoin blocks and these patterns are going to propagate potentially forever. Right. Yeah. So these initial deployers, creators, they don't have that superpower that Bitcoin does, being on Earth.
Infinite.
Yeah, infinite lifespan, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this whole protocol and like whatever privileged authorities that support these
yeah, think about it. Let's say the Royals deployment. That's what's receiving the funds for these mints, and King decides to leave it open. Meaning, if the pattern occurs again, you just go to Mscribe and you mint it, right? No big deal. But you leave it open. 1,000 years from now, that address would just continuously increase in like Bitcoin value.
Yeah, sounds like a treasury to me.
Yeah,
basically.
And so whoever he decides to pass down that deployment or that address, access to that address, is who has access to those funds.
Oh man, we're definitely traversing into governance matters now.
Oh yeah,
we definitely are.
So
but it's still early to tell like how these matters are going to be like figured out in the long run. But yeah, this is between founder and community, right? And luckily the tools are in place through this deployment mechanism, meaning like the unique content itself is being distributed, but don't forget there is a non-fungible component, a fungible component to all of these deployments, right? The token.
Yeah.
And people are wondering, it's like, oh, what's the use case of these like different fungible tokens that are being, generated at the same time as the UNAT deployment? Well, we might be tickling at that first use case, but implementation wise, that is like an endeavor, right?
Yeah. Man, there was something I wanted to say about this like minting experience. But if you look at the screen right now, this is what the minting experience looks like.
Yeah.
Tons of people are jumping in. They're claiming these blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can imagine like a pattern occurs again, you just come to this site, mint your block, and then now you have it.
Yeah.
But I was curious. My question to everybody who's watching this, this is for, like, for example, this is for the crown mint. This is all the testing that we did. There's only 8,064 crowns.
Yep.
Right. And if this pattern occurs again, which is the 3B pattern, which is the same one NatCats used.
Yeah.
If this occurs again, then there are going to be 2,016 more. Right.
Right.
So then you just come here and just mint your crowns.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my question is, with an 8,000 non-arbitrary supply, what if this says 840,000?
Meaning like every single block?
Every single block.
Yeah.
Like, and a creator decides to create art for every single block.
Yeah.
And obviously this is a UNAT, so every single block is going to be different because your number is different, right?
Yeah. The source data of the block itself.
Yeah, they're all different too.
It's all going to be leveraged to manifest the creation, right? And therefore every block data has unique components to it. Therefore the creations will be unique. So what's the ultimate question? It's like,
so what if? What happens when you have not 8,000 blocks, but 840,000 blocks?
Yeah, I think for
and
sure.
And then you have like this PvP experience in real time.
I think the user count definitely goes up, right? I'm seeing 800 users there. So there's like 800 people literally on this field concurrently.
Yeah, and today's launch was 1,700 people.
Jeez,
and this was like a silent launch here. This was the secret launch.
Yeah, there's only like a couple hundred blocks up for claim. Actually, you're saying an indefinite mint mapping experience. But there's however many blocks for Bitcoin exist.
Yeah,
that's what's up for claim. I mean, it's basically like multiplayer Bitmap minting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's basically Bitmap and then NAT. But now with the UNAT.
Yeah, those were single player experiences, right? Meaning like the mint maps existed on like Ordinals wallets interface.
Yeah.
And yeah, people did exactly that, right? You just had this huge block. Some of them were available, some of them were not. And you alone got to traverse that block space and
by
like
yourself.
Just all alone in block space, dude. That must have been kind of scary.
Yeah.
And you got to find your block or blocks, whichever ones you wanted to be yours, right? So this is basically going to be that, but like this. You're not alone anymore.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, dude. I don't know. So what are you saying? We should.
I don't know. There's a creator out there who wants to take the initiative to like do all the blocks. I mean, that would be interesting.
Yeah. Imagine the artistic, like.
The burden.
Yeah, because you're talking about something like an art, like a rendition at a scale that hasn't been done, I don't think.
Correct.
The only one who has kind of like trying to do something like that, it was like, remember Reddit, those little avatars?
Yeah.
But those weren't like all truly unique.
No, they weren't unique. They're basically copies.
Yeah, they just had like different versions with like different artists.
Yeah, they had a template and then the artist would just like modify that template.
Yeah, so they had like a collection of artists come in and just create your avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were more scarce than others for whatever arbitrary reason.
Yeah.
But still, it was cool to see that. So it would kind of be like something like that potentially.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Like see an initiative where like a bunch of artists come together. It's like we're gonna make these blocks into something. Right?
Yeah.
And then boom, deploy. And then have at it.
I think that's a good idea.
Good luck.
But yeah, that's been the test. And so again, on Monday, there's going to be the Royals minting. Should be interesting. I don't. This was like an open mint, so it was a bunch of craziness. But the first phase of the Royals mint is going to be a whitelist. So maybe like, I don't know, was it maybe 2,000 addresses or something like that?
For the babbies?
Yeah. Yeah, like 2,500 addresses.
2,000 holders.
Yeah. So all of them will have access. How many each? Like 5 each? Do they get access?
I think it's 1 for 1.
Oh, is it? Or, okay.
Yeah, if you held a babby at the snapshot point, then that's however many babbies for that wallet is like how many blocks you're going to be able to claim.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So assuming you had like 5 babbies, you're
Yeah.
going to be able to claim 5 blocks. And I think there's a 24-hour like minting phase for the babby holders.
That's right.
So that's phase 1.
Yeah, and phase 2 is going to be the testers for the redacted test here.
Yeah.
And then
And
there's
NatCat minters, I think.
NatCat minters.
I think there might be something else in that phase, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. And then phase 3, we did more tests. And so anyone who tests like recently is going to be added to the phase 3.
Yeah. And damn, I really need to pull up. Hold on.
Yeah.
I have it here somewhere.
And then phase 4 is like a larger community of like crypto holders of various flavors.
So phase 3 just says community lists new babby holders too. So there was like a new babby snapshot for phase 3 also. But phase 2 specifically Punk, AYC, NatCat minters, test crown holders, and art for the people. Interesting.
AYC?
Punk AYC.
Oh, okay.
Phase 4, first come first serve for nominated community. So yeah, this is an entirely whitelisted event, right? So it's been quite a process in like organizing all this.
Yeah, I have another question. Just in general, like if you deploy a DMT like asset, like the Royals or NatCats, and that same artist deploys like another DMT asset, like on a different element, things like that, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Like
the artist continues to make stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know.
I feel like it could be a good thing.
I think like, I mean, Frank the Gods had 2 collections, Utes and D-Gods.
Yeah.
And I think they've been hinting and teasing at like another one.
Yeah.
That guy's not going to like stand still.
No.
He's going to keep like iterating, right? And that's kind of like what you want. Like if a founder does something, so it's like creating an ecosystem outside of just a single collection, right?
Yeah.
But then you got like complexities of like figuring out like interplays between these communities and stuff. And that's part of the reason why it's like the scope of 10K is kind of limiting, right? Like your community space is so small.
Yeah.
You could leverage something like this where like the full blocks are up for claim and create like an actual ecosystem where there's different communities mixed within like the broader community, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
there's
like 10 different PFPs potentially within like a whole 800K mint. Imagine that.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, the artistic endeavor of that is a motherfucker.
Yeah, for sure.
But still, one hell of an interesting experiment. I want to see somebody do that for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's leave that up to the comments. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Definitely let us know in the comment section below. All right, that's been the podcast. We talked about DMT. We talked about memes.
Talked about conferences and the fact that because Will doesn't like to party, we get to miss it out and all the fun.
I party every day, dude.
We have our own party going on over here.
Like mentally. It's a party inside every day, dude. All right, guys.
Oh my God. It's a party every day mentally. All right, dude. I'm glad you're partying in there, dude. Sounds great.
All right, that's it for us. Appreciate you for watching, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.